Hello and welcome. My name is Fredrik Zillen and I'm a running technique specialist. Many people who run with very thin so-called barefoot shoes very often get a somewhat of a special running style. In fact, even runners in more normal shoes can adapt this running style if they think it is better to run more on the forefoot or deliberately trying to run in a way that they think reduces the risk of injury. It is a more cautious running style, sneaking running style, where they like to reach out a little bit in front of them and pushing their forefoot down first, dipping their toes a little bit diagonally forward down. Of course, this is exaggerated, but you get the point. And this style of reaching forward with your foot so that the lower leg is leaning this way and your foot is in front of the knee is also very present in, for example, advertising photos for brands like Vibram Five Fingers. Do all barefoot runners and runners who are afraid of injury run like this? No, of course not, but quite a few. The reason for this toe dipping is often a combination of them trying to land more on their forefoot and this is an important thing that many don't think about, that the further in front of you land, the less vertical forces, the less ground reaction forces coming up into the foot and the body. And with such thin shoes, they feel the ground reaction force so clearly that they often instinctively try to lower it. And it is true that when you run with this toe dipping style, the vertical forces often decreases quite a lot, but the forces rarely disappears. It is common that they just move to another place in the body instead. In fact, I've already made a video about exactly this, and it's conveniently titled "Reducing one type of force can increase others when running." In that video I show measurements I made with my 3D cameras of how overstride reduces the vertical forces, just like I said, but instead increases both braking forces and lateral forces. So check that video out if you want to know more about it. And while we are relatively good at dealing with the vertical forces and less good at dealing with braking forces and lateral forces in our knees and hips, there is a good chance that the risk of injury increases instead of the opposite, as we hoped when we feel that the vertical forces decreases with the toe dipping style. Of course, it could be the case that you went from traditional running shoes to some kind of very thin barefoot shoes and then got rid of all your injuries and became fast and rich and handsome and happy. Well, congratulations in that case. But aside from increased braking and lateral forces, this running style, the toe dipping style, also increases the risk of bone stress fractures in the tibia and the metatarsal bones in the feet. And this is because the ground reaction force is not the biggest force that your skeleton is subjected to when you run. The muscles pull and compress the bones with much higher force. For example, the plantar flexion muscles, mainly your calves, work so hard that the tibia is subjected to many times the force of the impact when you land. And this is one of the findings of a study with the well-found but extremely long name "Ground reaction force metrics are not strongly correlated with tibia bone load when running across speeds and slopes. Implications for science, sports and wearable tech." That was the name of the study. And the thing that the muscles are harder on the body than the landing is very clear on this image from that study. Here you see that the tibial bone compression force, the green line, is much larger than the ground reaction force, the blue line, during running due to forces from muscle contractions, the red line. And under the headline Conclusions, the scientists write, these results demonstrate that commonly used ground reaction metrics can mislead our understanding of loading on internal structures, such as the tibia. Increases in ground reaction force metrics should not be assumed to be an indicator of increase in tibia bone load or overuse injury risk during running, and this has important implications for sports wearable devices and research on running related injuries. End quote. So what they said was, no, just because you get a lot of vertical forces, a lot of ground reaction forces when you run, that doesn't say anything about the risk of bone stress fractures in the tibia. And what has this to do then with the toe dipping style? Well, this is very easy to feel. If you stand like this and hold on to something, lift one foot straight up, stand on your toes like this. Is it hard? Probably not. Put your heel down again, move your body backwards to this place. Now your body is slightly behind your foot, just like the typical running style of those with barefoot shoes, the toe dipping style. Keep your body here and go up on your toes now. Then you compare how hard it is to this place. Yes, you need to work so much harder with your calves when you have your foot a little bit further in front of you, as in the toe dipping style. And then we should remember that when you are doing this exercise, you are standing still. When we run, the weight of the foot is about 2 to 2.5 times your body weight. So it's quite clear how much force you have to put on your calves and Achilles tendons and your foot when you toe dip and land a little bit in front of you with the toe dipping style, the barefoot shoe style. And minimalistic barefoot shoes also changes a lot of other things. Some forces will increase in some parts of the body and decrease in other parts. But that will be the subject for another video. And remember, you can also run in different ways with your barefoot shoes. Because now we talked about how the toe dipping style in particular affects forces and the body. You can of course run in barefoot shoes without the toe dipping, like this. Now I have the toe dipping style, and now I run more like I normally do, with landings more under the body. Running like this will probably lead to larger vertical forces, but less in other ways, such as reduced braking forces, lateral forces, and less load on the tibia, as the calf has to work less here compared to the toe dipping style, as you could feel when we did the exercise when you hold on to something and move the body. I also want to stress that I'm not saying that running in barefoot shoes is bad. As you see, I have a pair myself. But I am saying that runners often change their running style, and that can be good and bad, and that forces move and what happens then. And I'm not at all interested in how you run. You can of course do exactly what you want, run in any style you like. I'm just here to give you the facts. And that's all for today. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and to check out my online course, just like these runners have done.